brought some design to show us today as we look to renovating and updating this building that is now 25 years old. It's not the new building anymore. So as we invest in future 25 and years and beyond, we're going to refresh this space. It's so exciting. It's been really, really fun working with them. So without further ado, I'll just turn it over to Austin and Terry to walk through some design.
Godly play and the nursery, so that again, we can get them bigger. The groups are very successful and they're outgrowing their space. On the lower level, with the English Learning Center moving out, it's the opportunity to repurpose almost the entire floor. So we are doing a lot of demolition and a lot of new construction on the lower level. So you can see this is the existing plan now. There's a lot of small spaces, but no large spaces for large motor activities, large group meetings, anything like that. So changing this. And I'm going to let Austin talk about the site.
It's on site where similar story, we're going to have some strategic interventions here, some sidewalk repair on the entry side here, and then on the parking lot side. But the big move is doing something to connect the campus. We know that you have this idea of a 2-story building being
Can you point out where we are on that?
Yeah. This gray portion is the existing building,
Okay.
and this is the future.
So this is Chicago down here?
Yep. Yeah, so the idea of doing something to connect the two via landscape, creating a large lawn and a connected walkway to one, to move people to and fro the buildings, and then also just to kind of spiritually connect the two to signify to the neighborhood that these two things are connected and the mission is shared. There's an image of what that lawn, the covered walkway might look like.
Is the building there, is that our current pizza oven?
Yes.
Oh, and where are we standing in this?
So here are the doors to worship right there. Yep, so we're working on right in the corner over here. And then on main level, as Terry was mentioning, strategic interventions. So we're not totally redoing the whole thing. We're kind of just finding places that we can make some improvements. So the big one here in the entryway, we shrink the vestibule a little bit in order to give us more room for the stairs. The stairs are reconfigured so that the entry is now here rather than off on the side. And that gives us room to put a crying room here, a place for parents to take their children out of worship whenever they need a quiet space to be. And then you get a view into the worship hall from there, but you're separated noise wise.
I'm wondering, that start, you think pointing out. I'm wondering how But, what thing is that?
Oh, sure. So this is the existing lobby right now, it's right up here. And then the door I was pointing at is the main entry of Chicago here. And so the crying room would be right off of worship, it's in that corner. Yeah, where all the plants are over there.
It's called the crying room.
Yeah, that's what we've been calling it, it's maybe not the best name, it's quiet place. to go.
Crying room, where you can cry in
I like that. I like that better.
We. We can also go to. Exactly.
Anyway, so other interventions on this floor, we're gonna, remove that hallway that's up there by the storage room. That's on the other side of worship over there next to the grotto. And just make a large storage room there for AV equipment. At the Godly Plan Nursery, the idea is to flip the two and to put a hard wall between them rather than the accordion wall that's there now. And to take out that restroom in the corner to give more space to the room and add a sink. Down here, again, back in the lobby, right off of the vestibule, we've created a small waiting area, sort of an expansion of the lobby, another place similar to the furniture that you have set up here, a place to sit and wait for people who are coming in or just come on your toe. Just doing something to improve the flow of that area. We've heard it's quite congested. And so we're looking to improve the flow there. In the office area, we did take out a bit of reception, so we moved that over. We take out the storage room that's there now. And then in the back, we take out the conference room and add 2 small offices.
And the reason we can take out that conference room is because now we have the lower level to use as meeting rooms. So there's all that space down there, so this can be given over to keep all the staff together was a priority.
Nice.
So this is not final, this is just preliminary to give you ideas, but keeping the idea of the wood trim, the doors, the openness that you guys have now around your narthex. But we've heard people are climbing stairs, so trying to enclose the stairs so that they're safer. And then having that crying room over in the corner, but keeping the familiar language that's in the narthex already in the space. But adding right at the entryway, a directory board so that you can say what activities are going on in the building, what room they're in, all those other things that just give people orientation within the building.
So in this picture, which is obviously that wooden wall on the left side, is that basically where the windows are at the
Yes.
end of this space now?
Yes. Yeah, it gives the opportunity that if there wanted to be a welcome desk in front of it, there could be a desk there with somebody greeting on Sunday. It's the screen on the wall, it has multiple purposes, just having a little less transparency in that location. Then going down to the lower level, which again, this is the area with the biggest change. So the number one priority we heard from every group was give us a multi-purpose space. So the whole side right here, we've got 3 rooms that are designated as multi-purpose. They have folding partitions so that it can be opened up in one giant room that is bigger than the space we're in now. So it's like 1,600 square feet when it's all opened up, or you can close them and have 3 different events going on in 3 different spaces.
Carrie, for reference, how big is this one?
This room is about 1,300 square feet, so it's, I would say 300 square feet bigger than this, if you can picture that. Then we've got still maintaining a room where you've got your records and your archives, so still having a space designated for that, the lower level. We're keeping the classroom that's in the lower corner. It's a good sized meeting room space. So keeping that, closing off the wall, so that we've got some designated storage for your quilting groups, your other groups like that. Again, we've got a small classroom right here that we're turning over to storage. It's near the elevator, so if things have to go up and down the stairs, it's close in proximity to that. And then we're also adding a single occupant gender neutral restroom so that anybody that is uncomfortable going in a men's or women's restroom has this space. It also is equipped with a shower. But if you do have overnight events, you could be using the shower, got an adult sized changing table in it. So a lot of additional opportunities in that restroom.
Question,
Absolutely.
is there, so upstairs you're getting rid of one of the bathrooms, but the other is staying?
The other two are staying. Yes, we're getting rid of the one, there's one inside the nursery right
Yeah,
now.
right.
We're getting rid of that one, but the two on the hallway. So there's another one for it will be the nursery when we're flipping them. And then there's the one off the hallway for the general public. Yes, we're keeping both of those.
I'm confused. Right now, we have 3 restrooms on this floor, the 2 kind of,
Yeah.
and one here and the 1 solo over. at
You have the solo over there, but then those 2 classrooms also have restrooms.
Can you show where it is on that?
Yeah.
I thought.
Oh,
that-
Yeah, right now we
Yeah.
have 5
Two of them.
Right.
3-year-old friendly.
Those 2
What
restrooms.
the, well, I guess I can't speak for that.
Yeah, way up in the top corner where I can't reach. So where my shadow of my finger is, that's the restroom. And that's the one that's going away. Then there's another one right here for Godly Place, so inside. And then there's the one that you all know about off the hallway right there. So those 2 are staying.
The one in the corner is where all the quilting stuff is stored.
Yes, it's
And where
largely,
used.
What do we got?
Oh.
it works.
Oh,
Thank you.
We didn't provide Brett.
Yes,
Where is the youth room?
can you go back to the lower level thing? Yep, so youth room is going in the large room up at the top. So that will go back to being a youth room. Then we've got another classroom right here. And then on the other side, so we've got a quiet room. So if somebody just needs that 5 minutes of retreat, if a nursing mother wants a little privacy, she can go into that quiet room and do what needs to be done. So there's a lot of flexibility on what that space can be. Underneath that, we've got what's called the AV studio. So for making podcasts, yeah.
I just, well, about the quiet room, I mean, I'm understanding that that's gonna be like a sensory.
Oh, there's another room for that.
Okay.
Where's?
So leading right into, we've got the sensory room. So if you have somebody that, again, is on the autism spectrum, if needs to go and pray, again, multiple uses for your spaces. So it's a larger room so that more people could be in it at a time. So a mother could be with a child. Again, a group, yeah. It's just that a group could be in there doing prayer, whatever opportunities.
Can you show me where the staircase is back here?
So the rear staircase is right here
Okay,
and the front stair is right here. So you come down this. And there's the elevator is right here. So basically, these spaces are running right along that, just outside the worship space, right along right there. And then I'm standing over what would be the sensory room. So that would be directly underneath where I'm standing right now. And I saw somebody had a question.
This is a common sensory, but, we like to have a space for our local neighbors to be able to pray. Are there any special accommodations that we need to have to make it more prayer friendly to our local neighbors?
We haven't gotten that far into like materials or anything like that because, yeah, it might be the flooring.
Like optimal space for them.
Yeah, so it is designed.
Different spaces, or I just don't know the requirement.
Yeah.
But,
Most of our Muslim prayers are English learning students
right,
who will be in the building next door.
okay, sure.
Yeah, and there is plans to put rooms for prayer rooms for them in there as well.
Thank you.
so another, can I just say an observation?
Yep.
For me, is that, I could be just wrong about this, but safety wise for the children, I feel like right now, I think that the downstairs rooms are mostly locked because it's the English Learning Center and it's their space. But in this plan, now all these little places will be open and it makes me anxious, about safety.
And then not necessarily would they be open, we're gonna upgrade the keying system and the security system. So it might be that the doors are on, they're closed and you need a fob to get in. Not saying that most of the adults in the congregation couldn't have access to that space, but not kids. So that would, again, improve that level of security.
Not if all adults have access.
You know, because then a parent would be going with them, you know, so if you're talking if somebody's taking a child, they shouldn't be, there's no cure for that.
Okay.
I have kind of a larger philosophical question that relates to the sanctuary.
Sorry, this is another question. And then we,
Oh, I was just gonna say, are we gonna put glass panels in all our doors downstairs?
Yes,
Okay, that would help.
again, it's just any environment where you have kids, yes, you wanna have that somebody can at least look in the room. Yeah.
and then Sam.
When you started to use the word tri-room, that sort of made my stomach pump up because the one thing I love about this church is that crying babies, and crying children, and playing children, and children just making children noises, they're right in the middle of worship. You know, when I'm a Lyft driver, when I talk to my passengers about what I love about my church, I always talk about worship being like holy chaos, like a holy service. And the idea of creating a room where people feel like they have to go if their child is making noise, that just seems like such a not our Savior's.
And I think it's to give the choice. We're not saying a parent has to take their child there, but there are some people that want to take their child there. But they still want to be associated with worship. They don't want to lose that connection. So having somewhere that they could move outside of that space. And it, again, using the crying room name might be the wrong one, but the calming room I like is a better name. It could be an adult that should had a bad phone call and needs to go somewhere private. It could be, you know, pretty much anybody going in there. And the idea is also that it's a useful space on a Tuesday. That it can be used as a secondary meeting room, a little less formal and, you know, still having all the nice light from the first floor, so.
Sam.
With these, wonderful large doors, we have, and the, I'm wondering if you know, this may not be an architecture question, this may be a builder question, but is there a way to replace like hydraulic closers and
Yes.
hinges without changing doors?
Yes, you were actually on, some of the later slides.
Oh, right.
Is, a lot of the
Totally.
maintenance stuff that needs to happen in the building is also on the list. So that includes, yes, replacing the hardware on the doors, but not the doors themselves. That's a very doable project. We're also looking at like replacing VCT, replacing carpet. So there's a lot of, it's 25 years of wear. And it's time for that refresh. So looking at doing that. And I don't know who's next, so I'm gonna.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Back one more. Previous slide.
Yes.
The current feeling in the basement is a long hallway, north, it feels like it still has that similar long hallway
Yeah.
there. There's some ideas around making the field open or acceptable.
Yes, actually,
Basement, yes.
yeah, that was discussed. So one, the hallway is a foot wider than, or a foot and a half wider than it is now. So that helps. But then we've got things like, there's cabinetry that's along the hallway. So again, making it feel more open, having a more variety of materials, because it's like having wood cabinetry, break it up. Again, some of the walls might be glass into the adjacent spaces. So where that's possible, it makes sense. So opening it up to the space. So again, improving it in multiple different options. That definitely was a thought, so.
Elaine and Renata.
The question I have is about the youth room in the back.
Yes,
In reference, when my kids were that age, they had that room as an option. Or then they actually redid the nursery to be a youth room and repainted it.
Oh.
And the reason was that room felt like it was far away and dark and a dungeon. And
Yeah.
they didn't find it as a place to go to. So I'm just wondering if we continue to keep that, can we get a window or something where light can come in there? So it feels more welcoming than off in a dark cave.
As being one of the, well,
Yeah,
I'm not related to her, but as being one of those kids who was a part of redoing that, that was exactly how we felt. Was like the basement, we had to go downstairs, off into the corner. It was dark. If you didn't turn the lights on, it was pitch black in there. And so like, I think it's a great idea for a youth space because it's other than youth, what, I mean, storage, I guess, is probably the only like logical spot for the thing to do in that room. But there is that concern of like lighting and all that.
Did it matter to you that it was in the basement and away from the main activity? Or do you think you'd like to? Away from
I
the
think
adult?
if there was, I think with at least how I'm seeing this now, that there will be more activity in the basement. I don't think that'll be a problem. Because if there's more activity in the basement, I would have been much more comfortable and much more, I would have been down there all the time probably. Because there's so much more going on in the basement where now you're there for Sunday school and then you come up and you're here or you're in what we had in the youth room. And now if there's going to be a bunch of activity in the basement, then I feel like there's actually going to be 2 levels of stuff going on now or in the future. Where it is now, it's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. So the part of the question was, can we add windows on that space? There's a very small section of the wall back here. There is a potential to add a window on. Will it be simple? No. Will it be easy? No. Will it be cheap? No. But it could be done. But it's only on that side.
Yeah.
This side is actually underneath it's an underground play.
Oh, okay.
The basement is not as large as the first floor,
Yeah.
so the space extends on that side. So there's only in the back where you've got the rain garden. That's the only side you could have a window on.
Speaking from the design team, I think we could do some stuff to make that still warm and inviting. I'm a lighting guy. So
And that's
we can do
exactly-
some fun stuff.
I
Yeah.
think
If
lighting,
that changes the feeling of that space.
yeah, lighting is a big part of
I can
that.
add colored lighting
Yeah,
cheaper than we can put in the window.
yeah.
For sure.
Okay, I'll have Renata.
Yeah. So I was also just gonna address some of the concerns around the calm room, the calm/crying room. I mean, so Mike and I were both on the building and property committee, and it was something that the parents group was very excited about, is to have that option of a space. That there's gonna be less sensory things going on, but still being connected, because right now during worship, there's often just some kids that are here in the hospitality center. And that they can't handle all the sensory things that are happening in the space. But there definitely would still be a commitment to having the kids in this space, and that would still be very welcome. The playground would not go away at all.
I have a process question, probably geared toward the property committee. So it feels like a lot of good feedback has been gathered from different sort of stakeholder groups. I may be a little unclear about what we're doing today. Feels like we're going down the path of sort of fine tuning, offering feedback on specific design features. Maybe that's the way that we do want to spend the time, but it feels like, is this the next turn? Do you want that public feedback now? I guess property committee, how should we collect very specific suggestions? We could continue on this path, again, it's been a rich conversation, but I'm aware, I'm maybe unclear about, is this just inform where we are? And there will be further conversation with those stakeholder groups. How
And this,
do we want to collect?
yeah, I would definitely say, so part of it was just to communicate, to
Yeah.
let the community as a larger whole know what was going on, so that we're not doing it in a secret room behind closed doors. Yeah, if you guys have specific feedback you don't wanna share today, give it to one of the pastors, give it to one of the people that's on our committee, and it'll get to us. This is considered pre-design. This is very early in the process. None of what you see here is permanent. It's not gonna be the final design. There will be tweaks. But it's the collective understanding of what we heard to date. So there's another few months if this process continue today before we would ever break ground on doing any of the work.
I was just gonna,
I'll just add, we have a 12-minute process with you all, and it goes through the like. maybe 12, I think. So this really is a chance to hear, like, so far, what the small groups have discussed have resulted in this design. This is another opportunity for the larger community to see what's been percolating and to say, wait, what about this? Wait, what about this? I have concerns about this. I'm excited about this, so that we can, you know, add that to the mix and in this 12-month process. This is the sort of it, and then we're going to return a little bit more focused on that section. So this is part of our getting ready for capital campaign. So they're gonna be working with cost estimators. Should I use the microphone?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. So this 12-week process is part of getting ready for a capital campaign, which we hope would start in the fall. And so we'll go through this 12-week pre-design process, get as much feedback as we can. And then there will be kind of a quieter phase with the capital campaign where we're meeting with some folks in the congregation about our hopes and what we hope to raise, what we learn from that process about what the realistic goal is for us to raise. It might well impact like how much of this actually can we do, right? So we'll just keep like kind of fine tuning the design with that, you know, capital campaign lens after this 12-week process. And then, there's still like a harder design phase that comes after the pre-design where we get even more granular. But they're gonna work with a cost estimator at the end of these 12 weeks so that, and even I think have started to.
Underway.
Yeah, they're underway right now so that we can find out what this means in terms of dollars and cents and go from there. That makes sense?
Okay, wait a minute. So I think Dave, you have a question, and then Leslie, and then Laura, and then Lance. Okay, Elaine.
I'm done.
Oh, no, Dave, yes.
I have, since this first started, conversation first started, I have been wondering about, well, those big doors, and then this wall, on the other side of that. Has any conversation been had about opening up the opening into the narthex so that it can be a little seating more effective? Because where is that in the?
Opening up this wall right here.
And then maybe making the doors more fully openable than the, right by where the.
Yeah, we've definitely had discussions about the doors and potentially changing the doors. Hardware was discussed as the simplest option, but other changes potentially to the doors. Opening up the wall wasn't really discussed because it gets pretty narrow over on that side, so. Because by the time you take out a bearing wall, to add doors into it, they're gonna cut in that space quite a bit. So it's probably a little too narrow from basically where the hallway starts, about right equal with me. Potentially opening up to this side of it, there might be some opportunity.
Well, when I kids pulled in using on the street, they went to the paper, and people have like notes on.
And that's part of why we brought them.
Yeah, so maybe just have your papers and write notes, like, just give ideas, just to, like, head to the process, and then just spend more time thinking and praying, and like, all the things we can do with those papers, that might be helpful, knowing that those might not be the final ideas, but like, I'm like, I think it's spots with the youth rooms in the classroom and the front and the lights in that classroom, it'll be an amazing space right in the heart of everything for our youth. I would write that on the paper, and just to get those ideas on the paper, and also maybe people are really involved in the process and think about how they feel.
Absolutely.
Lance and Karen.
I've been thinking, it's this picture that's standing right by Pastor Martha. I've been thinking about, our church is actually not that big. But one of the illusions that we have is that it's huge because it's just so open.
Yeah.
And that, a lot of that has to do with those windows that we've just been talking about covering up. And so I just thought, well, I'm just sitting here thinking, what would this feel like right now if those were covered up? And I feel like, we feel like we're in a small space.
Yes.
Those aren't covered up.
We're only covering the end wall.
Just right there.
Yeah, it's just the eight,
The plants are already covered.
7 feet, that's right there.
4 panes of glass.
I know.
But what Grant is saying is those studs on the right, that's the covering, right, Grant?
Over by the
Yeah.
stairway, right?
Yeah,
The studs are, there's studs and there's glass.
It'll look kind of like this part.
but we
This
won't
part
have-
right here is again, just like what you have now, so it's wood and glass, so it's mostly glass. We're not trying to hide the view behind.
I see.
So we're trying to still let that light all through, but improve the safety for the kids.
I see.
In view of what, Elaine and Jacob said, is there any possibility that the youth room, because when I look at our youth, it's like, well, we have a group coming to be teenagers in this 20-year project. Is there any place that the youth could be on this main floor? Because I work in ESL down at the end of that stairway in a room, and we're all very aware we have no window. And it doesn't feel that, it always feels like we're in a basement.
Yeah. Without adding an addition, and we looked at multiple options for adding an addition, both in the green space back here and on the second floor. And it got very convoluted and very expensive. Moving it up to this floor would definitely, because the little kids really don't want to be downstairs. They need the close exits, all the things that, there's a reason why there's doors out directly outside from those rooms. It's a life safety issue, so I wouldn't put them downstairs, and there's basically nowhere left.
Can you remind us on the, show us a current level diagram? What's in the space across the hall from the nursery and Godly Play?
So across the hall from nursery and Godly Play, right now, it was originally designed as an office, so it's pretty small, but it's gonna be storage for the worship space. And then you've got the grotto that's attached to the worship space.
So it's a small space with a window, but not big enough
It's-
for a youth room.
It's not big enough for more than 2 people.
Okay.
Yes, that's.
This is about the youth room brainstorm, and I take Laurel's point. I didn't see on one slide, if we're gonna move on, but I have a report about writing this down. But go back to floor 1. Yeah, what's over there? What's there in the current office space? What are all those rooms down there?
So the current office space, so we've got the open area right at the entry. We've got the reception workroom space. And then we've got offices for 5 people, which is the minimum of what they need.
Could any of those adults go to the basement and let them use it? I think the brainstorm.
Just for safety and for, I can't think of a better word. The staff all want to be on one floor. And you also always want staff next to the entry, just so they're seeing who's coming and going. So moving them would be difficult. So again, if we wanted youth on this floor, you're talking about putting a space back here and taking up your green space, which is at a premium for you guys. Yeah,
And entirely glass wall there, so that all the way from the stairs, it's not entirely like. It makes it feel like it's more.
less like a dungeon.
Yeah. All glass.
Yeah, if
I feel like it's closes that thing from the stairs.
if that room is big enough for your youth room, absolutely, you could do that here.
Well, that
That,
would be,
that room is just under 400 square feet, and the one up there is 800, so that room is about half the size.
it does, it does. Right, right. But there's no flow.
Yes.
Yeah, that was also the reason we had it as the meeting room, so that, again, if you have older people, Yeah, it's a long way back there.
We'll make the lighting like, my.
Again, one thing that having no windows and being kind of tucked away is that you can sort of go nuts and not, you go nuts with design and paint and all of the things that make youth rooms crazy. I mean, that is one benefit, you know, you can, if it was something out in front, we think, well, you can only make the walls white. But whereas, you know, if it's kind of tucked in the back, we can let them have a little more freedom and flexibility to design their space.
My youth room was in the basement and we did lime green walls. And we also had a chalkboard wall.
I mean,
And it was great.
most youth rooms I've seen have been like black paint and black lights.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, just being aware of language, there's been people who have had opposition to crying room, and I understand that. I think any place that's safe to cry, if adults or kids, is always gonna be positive. It will be only us who would stigmatize, you know, we have our own associations with crying, I think. We have a lot of growth for opening a space for adults to cry, you know, I think. But anyway, the other one I keep hearing issues with crying room, and I wanna put maybe a hold on dungeon language. Because I think the difference between dungeon and womb is a matter of tone. a lot of times. And I think that there's a way to have that space, and I think we're getting into a lot of like, yeah, I just think that we should stop talking about that as a dungeon space, because that means we're dungeon keepers. And we're not, so I think we can be midwives as much as we can be dungeon keepers, and that ways to shape that space to be very comforting and welcoming and exciting.
Back in the corner, I guess.
We cannot wait. And then.
Do you know what the official occupancy of the sanctuary is?
Yeah, 295.
That's cheap by dollar.
Yes.
Okay, so 80% of that is 230, right?
Something like that.
Because at 80%,
Yeah, 230, you're right.
80% you're turning people away. So I'm just thinking about, you know, we've been a couple of times, I've been part of conversations where we've talked about, do we have to start a second worship service? And I just think that would be awful. I think it would be, but if you need the seats, then what are you gonna do? So can you show me the first one again? I just want to ask, put it out on the table and now, but have you talked about the possibility of widening the drawback into that storage space and eliminating the hallway and adding, I don't know how many feet there as a way to expand the seat?
Yeah.
It actually was discussed. Nobody felt the sightlines were that good, especially when you look in the corner. So if we're widening it here, you know, it's a very awkward sightline to the worship space, to anybody speaking, on the altar platform or anything like that.
It's not good out here either with the Lord.
One of the things I'll say, Dave, is that, this is more of an answer to Dave's question, is with some technology, we can have sort of spaces to where different people can sort of pick their worship experience, you know, the multi-purpose room could be a space, this could be a better space, things like that. That's not everyone in the same room.
Right.
But we can improve some of those with technology. I don't want to go any more of that.
No, I appreciate that insight. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, Steve.
So I'm just trying to stay real big picture here, because it's early in the process, but like. You're professionals, you've done this for a long time, and I know you're going through the cost estimator. And I just want to make sure we're not running into a situation where it's like, cool, all of this is gonna be 25 million. And you're having some conversation with capital, and it's like, cool, we think we can do 5 million. And it's just like.
Yeah.
Understanding it's very early, it's. Well, numbers can vary a lot, but there's some alignment of, we think we can do X to Y in the capital campaign, and this isn't gonna cost Z.
Yeah.
So like, there's some alignment in like what we want, and so I just, that's where I'm.
I'll just address that a little, Steve. So as Terry had mentioned earlier, we had considered a second story addition. We considered building out a little bit. which requires sprinklers on the first floor, which is another like $500,000. Like, if we just decided not to really develop those ideas in depth because of what you're saying. It's like, we don't want to get to a place where this is just like beyond, like totally beyond what we can do. I still imagine that once we keep homing in on like the key elements we want, there will be some prioritization that we're gonna have to do of like, this is our top priority, this is our next priority, and we will have to definitely keep doing that.
And that's why we're doing this also early, so that we can go into capital planning with a realistic of what it's really gonna cost. Rather than them throwing out a number, well, maybe 5 million, but we really do need 25 million. You know, to do all that we would like to do.
I would agree with that, and also it's just like, there's a lot of different maintenance things on the list, so, I mean.
Yep.
Mechanical system, these are things that you're going to have the cost for in the next 1 to 4 years. So trying to roll them into the larger project as well, because some of those items are big ticket items, and the mechanical system is gonna be a cost. So just trying to make sure that we're aware of those and including those within the budget too. But as Pastor said, not doing an addition, we made this a very doable project for most congregations. So it's like, remodeling the basement is actually, a relatively inexpensive project. We're not moving structural walls. It's stud walls and sheet rock. That's simpler to do. Thank you.
You're hired.
No, personal question or comment, I guess I should say, I raised my hand when we were still talking about the youth room, kind of going back to it. Sorry. I will say with the comment about going to the room that's what is proposed meeting room down there from where the youth room is, that is a huge size difference. Like, personally, I know, like, even for, there was there was like 6 of us in youth group, and like, even the 800 square feet would be like getting a little tight at times. And so having it, and we're gonna have more than 8 kids in the youth group in a very near future here. That's, I would be much more inclined as a more recent youth to have cool lighting ideas and be able to paint, like, because I remember the walls were like brick, we like painted them like, or someone painted them like bricks at one point. And like, as a youth, I would rather have opportunity to be creative than, so, I don't know.
And have people here in the front.
Part of what I'm hearing and what you're saying is you're building in flexibility, which we don't have.
Yes.
Because obviously, no uses have changed when they were designed because something was. I don't know all the uses, so that's what I appreciate is we're not locked into use. Flexibility going forward.
Yes. Very true. The opening up the basement with your tenant down there moving out, it's created so much flexibility for you downstairs.
Yes.
And the youth room could overplay, if they have a big group one night, go into the multi-purpose room.
Oh, 100%.
Open it up, play some games,
Oh,
I
totally.
mean, that's the lounge, that's the center, but they can express.
Did we mention too that the multi-purpose rooms were gonna be set up to also be able to withstand some games with balls?
Mock speed.
Oh, like the old days with the gym, when they.
Kind of the gym concept, but not a total gym, right?
Oh, I
Still
do
being.
love that.
No, having physical bodies.
In soccer in the hall.
Yeah.
So I love that.
That's right, and we do want the space to be somewhere where kids can go and expend energy. So whether that is soccer or dodgeball or something, yes, we want materials in there that can take that and be.
Yeah.
I just want to comment on something that I really, really like. I know we're, I mean, right, last week. Yeah. And the opening of the beautiful, I think that, that'll be in a part of the flexibility and openness. And then on the first floor, you know, I really appreciate the waiting room. Oh, leaving the congestion around the code area. So, those are things I
And, yeah, and we can also put, we're thinking about like movable coat racks, right? That could also go into the waiting room when we need more coat space. Or if there's a different type of event, like they could move in here, so you can take off your coat in here. Right. That was very.
Here they come.
Out of
the dungeon, out of the room.
Everybody can be.
Dungeon?
No, a dungeon. Yeah, I can see if they're both.
Great, so people can stay and write on the boards, that's exciting. I also, had a question at my table about, okay, what's the overall timeline? Like, when could this come to be? And that's still a little mysterious, but I will say, definitely not 2025. So I would think maybe 2027, we would actually be able to experience this vision, but that depends on a successful capital campaign and lots of other factors that are, I can't peer into the crystal ball. Yeah, Jacob.
Yeah, I shouldn't ask this question. This is an unfair question, but what would we do during this construction?
Oh, we do during construction.
Right. Oh.
Phase it. So.
Okay.
Definitely, you wouldn't do everything all at once.
Yeah,
So like probably doing the lower level first.
Yeah.
And so that those spaces get done and get finished, and then we come upstairs and we start doing the interventions here.
okay,
But definitely phasing is gonna be your friend, because then
Yeah.
you keep spaces occupiable.
Mhm.
In a variety of configurations so that people can use your facility.
Sweet.
Okay, so that reminds me of the timeline that I was just referencing. So our renovation of the basement is contingent on the ELC having its new home next door in the new 6-story building. So it's contingent on getting that funding for that building, having that building be successful, having the ELC moved out, and then we can renovate the basement.
Yes.
So in that scheme, in that whole scheme, 2027 is very optimistic, I would say. Okay, 2028. Let's see.
Again, the joy of church projects, they're a very long drawn out process.
Mhm.